Before the god came, there was fire. Before the throne, there was a name no one dared speak. In the heart of Africa's forgotten kingdom, where ancestral spirits sleep beneath the red earth, a cursed dynasty rises again. This is not just a story, it's a legend buried in bone, blood, and betrayal. Welcome to the House of Bone and Gold, an African epic of power, lust, legacy, and supernatural horror, unlike anything you have ever heard. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us to discover the chilling truth behind the family empire built on forbidden rituals and haunted gold mines.
Audio Jungle.
Nkemba, 23 years ago. The boy stood naked beneath the kola tree, his chest rising and falling like the drums of war in the distance. Red earth clung to his ankles. The priestess had smeared his body with ash, blood, and oil, tracing lines that no child should wear. Around him, the forest groaned with heat, shadows slipping like breath between the trees. He did not cry, not even when the priestess sliced his palm and pressed it against the ancient stone, the bone stone. The blood soaked into it too fast, as if the stone drank. "You must not speak of what happens here," she whispered, voice dry like woven palm leaves. "Even when it begins to take," the boy nodded. Far above them, the sky crackled, though there was no thunder, no clouds, just the kind of dry heat that made old people mutter about bad omens and closed caskets. "You are the seed of fire and bone. You are marked now." The priestess turned and walked toward the pit at the base of the kola tree, an ancient wound in the earth sealed by 7 iron chains. Each one bore a symbol, one for life, one for gold, one for the silence of names. He followed her, silent. She took a gourd from her satchel and poured its contents into the mouth of the pit. The forest held its breath. Then came the sound, a rattle, a whisper, a groan that echoed inside his skull but made no sound on the wind. He clutched his ears. And then it spoke, not with words, but with hunger. The boy's eyes rolled white. His body spasmed, not from pain, but from something deeper, an ancient knowing. Something older than language, uncoiled inside his chest. And it whispered, "Feed me. I will give you crowns carved in bone and gold, if you remember my name. If you forget, I will take everything and leave nothing but ash." Later that night, the priestess would walk him back to his family's compound in silence. His mouth would be dry. His eyes would never be the same. They would ask what happened in the forest. His mother would cry, but the boy would say nothing. Because now he understood the fire they did not speak of. It was not the kind that burned houses. It was the kind that burned legacies, and he was to be its vessel. Present-day Nkemba City. The airport still smelled like bleach and betrayal. Nari Ekanjo stepped off the plane with a press badge in her jacket, sweat in her palms, and ashes in her memories. 3 hours on a flight from Lagos, and she was already regretting the decision to come back. Nkemba hadn't changed. The air was thick with diesel and dust, the scent of roasted plantain mixing with city fumes. Horns blared. Hawkers screamed. Her name whispered in the wind like it still belonged to someone else. She adjusted the strap of her leather duffel bag and walked fast, head low. The security cameras clicked as she passed immigration. They were always watching in Nkemba, especially when your last name was Ekanjo. "Madam Journalist," a deep voice said from behind her. She turned sharply. A man in a dark suit stepped forward, smile too clean, too forced. "The palace sent me. His Royal Highness said to bring you in comfort." She studied the badge on his blazer, gold crest, a lion eating its own tail. Of course Zino would send one of his handlers. "No need for comfort," she said. "I'm not here to be pampered." But he insists. "A convoy waits." She should have refused. But this wasn't Lagos. Saying no to her brother's men was like refusing a god's offering. Unwise, even if poisoned. The black SUV glided through Tunda's heart like a shark through shallow water. Nari stared out the tinted window as the city passed. Skyscrapers stitched together with bamboo scaffolding, women in jelly haggling over yams, a billboard of Zino smiling like a messiah. Zino Ekanjo, the future is gold. She nearly laughed. The future was blood and bone and lies wrapped in the glitter of gold. The car turned off the expressway into Royal Hills, a private road that split a line between the rich and the rest. The trees here were older, guarded. They bowed slightly, as if even nature respected the Ekanjo family line. At the gates of the estate, armed guards saluted. She hadn't been here in 13 years. Not since the fire. Not since her mother's death. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors, bronze chandeliers, a spiral staircase that once led to forbidden rooms. The house hadn't aged, but somehow it smelled older, like dust under silk, like dried blood under perfume. Nari, she turned, and there he was. Zino Ekanjo, governor of South Nkemba province, oil magnate, walking contradiction. He wore a white agbada embroidered with gold thread and a ring shaped like a lion's fang. His smile was familiar, but wrong. Welcome home, sister. She said nothing. Still angry after all these years? Still pretending this house doesn't smell of ghosts? His smile didn't fade. Mother would be proud of your tongue, sharp as ever. Mother would haunt you for what's under this floor. Zino exhaled, then leaned closer, whispering, "The ministers died in fire, just like she did." That silenced her. He stepped back, watching her eyes. "You're not the only one with questions, Nari, but be careful. In this house, answers have sharp edges." That night, Nari didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the same childhood bed, staring at the ceiling. The shadows whispered. The chandelier clicked once, then again, like teeth grinding. She opened her duffel and pulled out her notebook, scribbled the first entry. 3 men, dead by fire, all connected to Zino. Someone wants me here. But who, and why now? And why does the air smell like burnt honey and salt? Beneath it, she added one word: mother. As she closed the book, a gust of wind passed through the closed window. A single candle flickered. Then, just for a second, only a second, she thought she saw her mother's face in the mirror, smiling. But the smile didn't reach the eyes. The estate had grown colder overnight, not in temperature. No, the heat still clung to the walls like fever. But the atmosphere, something in it had shifted. Like the house was waiting for her to ask the wrong question. Nari walked barefoot through the ancestral wing, the morning sun spilling gold across the hallway. Her fingers grazed the carved walls, passing portraits of men in flowing robes and women with eyes like blades. The air smelled of polished wood and forgotten blood. A house built on bones. The Ekanjos had always been proud of their legacy. Warriors, governors, priests, gold miners. Power was passed down like a birthmark. But buried in the marble and the mirrors were stories no one spoke aloud. She stopped at the last door in the hallway. Her mother's. It hadn't been opened since the fire. She ran her hand over the brass doorknob, engraved with a single symbol, the Ouroboros again. A snake eating its tail. Zino's symbol. Their fathers before him. Nari turned the knob. It clicked. The door creaked open on stiff hinges. Dust floated like spirit ash through the sunlight. The room had been preserved like a shrine, untouched but not unlived. Someone had been here. Recently. The bed was neatly made. The incense bowl had fresh ash, and in the corner, her mother's journal, resting open on a stool like it had been waiting. Nari's breath caught. She stepped closer. The pages had yellowed with time, but her mother's handwriting, sharp, elegant looping, was unmistakable. "He came to me again in my dreams. The boy made of bone and gold. He no longer has a face. He speaks in her voice now. He demands the seal be broken. If Zino ever opens that mine..." The rest was smudged by something dark. Ink or blood? Nari flipped through the pages faster. Ritual diagrams, symbols, family trees crossed out, a sketch of a chained pit beneath a cola tree. She froze. It was the exact tree from her dreams, from the myths, from that fire 13 years ago. A creak behind her. She turned, spine stiff. Zino stood in the doorway, a glass of palm wine in his hand. "You always were the curious one," he said softly, "even when it burned you." Nari held his gaze. "Why are you still in this house, Zino?" "Because the fire didn't burn deep enough." They sat on the balcony, the city of Itunda sprawling below them like a sleeping beast. "Why now?" she asked finally. Why invite me back after all these years? Zino sipped his wine. His agbada shimmered in the morning sun like scales. 3 men are dead, he said. All burned. No fuel, no source, just fire. Old fire. The kind that doesn't need a match to start. She stared at him. Each one was tied to the mine project, the one father buried after the incident. You mean after mother died? His jaw tightened. Yes, he set down the glass. I don't know what's waking up Nari, but I need someone who doesn't owe the house anything. Someone who still remembers. Remembers what? How it feels when the house breathes at night. That evening, Nari explored the lower wing. She found it behind the wine cellar, a spiral stair hidden behind a false wall. Dust clung to the banister. Rats had made homes between cracks in the stone. At the bottom was a door. Iron. Carved. The same Ouroboros. She turned the handle. Inside, mirrors. Dozens of them. Tall, gilded, ancient. Some were cracked. Others covered in cloth. And in the center of the room, a mirror shaped like an archway. She stepped toward it, drawn like a moth. Her reflection flickered. Changed. The face in the mirror smiled. It wore her bones, her skin, but its eyes were hollow, and its mouth was wrong. Too many teeth, and they were whispering. It was the 3rd night since Nari returned to Nkemba, and she still couldn't sleep. The marble halls of the Ekanjo estate echoed with memory. Her childhood bedroom was untouched, preserved like a shrine, except the silence was too deliberate, the order too clean, as if someone had been erasing things rather than protecting them. She moved barefoot past the family portraits, their father in his coronation robes, Mama Ekanjo in full regalia, Zino in his military best. Her own face was missing, deliberately cut out. She paused outside her mother's old study, the one that had been sealed since the fire. The door had always been locked, but tonight it was ajar. Inside, the air was stale with the scent of dried herbs and forgotten incense. Candles long melted into their holders. A shattered mask rested atop a shelf of books labeled in a language older than the palace itself. Nari stepped in. Dust shifted under her feet like breath. And there, on the center desk beneath a sheet of faded silk, a leather-bound journal. The cover was scorched, the clasp broken, the pages slightly warped but intact. She opened it. To the one who carries my name in shadow, you were never meant to return. But if you are reading this, then the fire has found you again. Her hands trembled. She flipped the pages. Entries dated back years. Notes on rituals, coded family trees, sketches of symbols she vaguely recognized from childhood. Diagrams of the pit beneath the cola tree. Names. So many names crossed out. Then this. There is gold beneath the city, but it is cursed. Not by man, but by what was buried to guard it. We called it wealth, but it fed on names, on memory, on blood. Another page. Zino wants to reopen the mine. He does not understand. The fire sleeps because we bound it. If he breaks the seal, it will not stop until it has taken every name born of our house. Nari exhaled sharply. It wasn't just about legacy. It was about something older, something living. She turned to the back. A folded page fell into her lap. A map, hand-drawn in her mother's script. The mine, the cola tree, and something labeled only the House of Bone. Behind her, the hallway creaked. She stuffed the journal under her arm, eyes scanning for signs of motion. Nothing, but the air smelled suddenly of burnt honey, and the mirror above the hearth reflected something that wasn't there. Elsewhere, Zino's private quarters. Zino sat in silence, the mirror across from him draped in white cloth. He had felt the disturbance. Something had shifted. She had found it. He picked up a piece of scorched leather, a scrap of the same journal he had tried to destroy years ago. Too late now. She would start asking questions, and Nkemba would start answering, whether it wanted to or not. The path to Tene's hut could not be found unless you were already meant to walk it. That's what her mother used to say. Nari never understood it as a child. Now, with Mama's journal tucked against her chest, her sandals scraping red dust, and the sun hanging like a thread above the rooftops, she was beginning to. The Dust Quarter was the city's oldest ward. Twisted alleys, mud houses, air thick with herbs and whispered names. The people here didn't look her in the eye. Not because they didn't know her, because they did. At the final turn, the path seemed to vanish. And yet, there it was. A single tree in a courtyard of cracked stone. Beneath it, a hut covered in charms and cowrie shells, its doorway veiled in bones and strips of faded prayer cloth. Nari stepped through. No knock, no permission. Inside, it was cooler than it should have been. The smell of river clay and burnt feathers clung to the walls. And there, seated cross-legged on a mat, eyes closed, skin tattooed with constellations, was Tene the Veil Walker. Nari had only met her once as a child. A blur of bone earrings, soft humming, and a voice that spoke in riddles. "You've come late," Tene said without opening her eyes. "You knew I would come?" "I dreamed you would come," Tene said. "But dreams lie. The fact that you are here tells me truth has begun to bleed." Nari slowly sat. "I found my mother's journal." "Yes," Tene said. "And now you carry fire you don't understand." She reached out and placed 2 fingers on Nari's forehead. The room darkened. The air shifted. And suddenly Nari saw a field of bones, a pit sealed with gold chains, a young boy screaming without sound, a woman, her mother, bleeding from her mouth, chanting names backwards, and a creature, tall and hollow-eyed, wearing a mask made of mouths. Nari gasped and fell back. Tene exhaled. "The House of Bone has awakened," she whispered, "and it wants to name you." "What is it?" Nari asked, shaking. "An ancient hunger," Tene said. "It was buried beneath the mine long before Nkemba had walls. Your bloodline made a pact with it. Gold for silence. But silence has teeth, and it has begun to chew." She reached for a bowl of dust and bone powder, stirred it once, then poured it onto the floor between them. 3 symbols emerged, 3 spirals, 3 paths. "One sibling must die," Tene said. Nari froze. "What? It's written in the prophecy. The bloodline cannot survive intact. The eater must be fed, and it does not accept mercy." "Zino?" Tene looked her directly in the eyes. "Or you?" The hut grew cold. From outside, a wind howled through the dusk quarter, and every mirror in the city cracked.
Audio Jungle.